Hello, I am Greg Harris, President of Watson Title Services in North Florida, and welcome to Part 3 of our series of videos that will provide an overview of the new settlement statement, now known as the closing disclosure, that will take effect for all mortgages written after August 1st, 2015. We know there are a lot of changes coming up, and we're here to help you understand these changes and how they will impact buyers, sellers, and their real estate professionals. This video is one part of a larger series of training sessions you can access over at Watson Title Services of North Florida's YouTube page, so you can view it as many times as you'd like or at a time of your convenience. At the end of the video and at the bottom of each slide, you will find our email address and phone number. If you have more questions or like a clarification, I encourage you to please reach out to us. If you don't already have a paper copy of the closing disclosure I'm using as an example throughout this series, just drop me an email, gregharris@watsontitle.net, and I'll send you a PDF. Now let's look at page 3. Like we've done with the previous pages, we've broken it into easily digestible sections, and that's how we're going to go through it right now. And let's focus at roughly the top third of the page. The top third is a summary that allows the consumer to compare the numbers from the loan estimate to the final fees on the closing disclosure. It allows you to see what has changed and points you to the sections that explain why things have changed. In order to get to the cash to close, there has to be an inclusion of all the seller prepaids and credits and other adjustments among the parties. Then there is a final comparison of the cash to close between the loan estimate and the closing disclosure. Now look at the bottom 2/3 of page 3. This should look very familiar to anyone who's done a closing since 2010. This section has remained almost the same, so let's dive right into it. With the exception of the absence of the line numbers we're used to, and the fact that the numbers total upwards, this is very similar to page 1 of the HUD-1 settlement statement, where we start to summarize all the fees and adjustments. This is from the left-hand side of the page, which summarizes in that column the buyer's transaction. Continuing down the left side of the buyer's transaction, we see where the deposit, loan amount, and existing credits are listed. Again, very similar to where we are today. Adjustments to items unpaid for the seller, such as taxes, can also be found here. The bottom section shows the math. The difference here is that it totals downward, not upwards like it does in other sections. We're done with the left-hand side of the page. Now let's move over to the right-hand section, just looking at the bottom 2/3. Section M is the seller's portion of the transaction, very much in line with what we are used to. At least in this part, we are back to where things are totaling upwards. Section N continues with the seller's transaction, showing closing costs brought over from the previous page and payoff of their mortgage and any other lien payoffs the seller may have. The seller credits and any other adjustments can go here as well. Finally, we have the math with the seller's summary. That's it for page 3. Page 3 is in many ways one of the simpler and easier to explain pages of the new closing disclosure. We want to thank you for joining us to learn another page of the new settlement statement known as the closing disclosure. And as always, if you have questions, please feel free to drop me an email or give me a phone call. And we look forward to seeing you for part 4.